Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about my new vac that I've bought. I'm replacing my old Titan vac that's attached to my dust extraction system. The main reason being, one, it's really noisy, two, it doesn't have a power tool takeoff on it, and three, it's getting a bit old and knackered really, and it hasn't got any filtration system in it. So the vac at the minute is chucking particles all over my garage or workshop. You'll have seen in my previous video that I was given an air filtration system for Christmas, which is working really well, but I want also to be able to filter out the particles that the dust extraction system is pulling out, and also from the vac when I'm sanding and things like that. The Titan vac has served me well. It sucks like the proverbial, and I think for just general use you can't really fault it. It was only about £35, but I'm quite pleased to say I've pushed the boat out a little bit, spent about 150 for what's classed as an M-class filtering wet and dry vac. You can get much more expensive ones. I've gone for, I suppose it's modestly priced. So let's take a look at it. This is the new vac. It's a Nilfisk Aero 26. I believe it's called the 2621 because it's got this power takeoff socket on it that you can plug in power tools. To operate the power takeoff socket, you just flick that switch, plug your power tool in, and then when you switch your power tool on, the vac will switch on as well. If you just want to operate the vac normally, it's not plugged in at the moment, but you can just switch that and it will turn on. I'm going to connect it up to my dust extraction system, so I'll probably have it linked to my remote. Take the top off. It's got two of these clips, one on each side. Got a really long power cable. The only disappointing thing is there's nowhere for actual power cable to be attached to the machine, nowhere on the back, etc. It's not really going to bother me because it's not going to go anywhere, but if you wanted to use it to move around, there's nowhere for that to go, and there's also nowhere for the 3 meter, which is quite generous, hose. There are places for all the accessories to be stored. There's quite a few different accessories. This is the one I'll probably be using the most, as it will connect to my power tools and also to the dust extraction system. So it's handy that it's got that with it. Lift up the lid. It's got quite a lot of capacity. I'll check what the capacity is and post up on screen. But the thing that I was most bothered about is this. This is the M-class filter. This will filter out everything but 0.1% of dust, and it's the type of filter that's most recommended for woodworking, so it should mean that there's not a load of particles of dust and dirt being sprayed around into the garage, which is going to do my lungs a lot more good than it has been. I've plugged it in now, so let's fire it up and see how noisy it is. Not too bad, it is quite noisy, but not quite as noisy as the old Titan. A lot noisier. I've plugged in my random orbit sander to the vac, and I've also connected up the hose. And what happens is when you turn the sander on, the vac kicks in as well. So that's quite cool. Let's give the workbench a bit of a sand and see how much dust it removes. Well, firstly, the workbench is now nice and smooth because I had 800 grit sandpaper in. And the reason I used 800 grit sandpaper was I was seeing how much fine dust would get chucked up. And I have to say, I'm quite impressed there actually isn't any. So, one, this really old, really basic Bosch random orbit sander has quite good dust extraction, especially when connected to a vac. But two, the vac's powerful enough to make sure that all the dust is getting sucked out and doesn't go anywhere. So for when I'm sanding, that's going to be really beneficial. The vac is in its new home now, next to my very dusty Cyclone and drum. On a plus, the colour's the same, so it looks quite smart. I'm going to give it a test now on the dust extraction system to see how it performs on the machine at the longest end of the run. So let's see how much power it's got. The machine at the furthest end of the dust extraction run is my bandsaw. I've disconnected the bandsaw from the blast gate and I've opened the gate to give suction. I'm going to turn the machine on with my remote. I can already feel that the suction's quite powerful, and to test how powerful it is, I'm going to stick a few different things on the bottom of the blast gate and see if it holds it up. I'm going to try a few bits. This is a piece of 1/2-inch timber, a 500ml can of foam gun cleaner, so it's just a 500ml can of liquid, and then lastly, and this is quite heavy, my glue bot. This is 16 ounce, I don't know what that is in metric, but that's really quite heavy, got a bit of heft to it. So let's see how we get on. This is a box of 100 6x80mm concrete screws. Really got some heft to it. Weighs about at least a kilo, maybe more, which is about 2.2 pounds. So let's see how we get on with this. I was really quite surprised with the outcome of that test. It just shows that the vac's got some real power. Also quite pleased that it shows the effectiveness of the dust extraction system and getting that much suction at the end of the run. I'll put the length up. I think it's probably about 8 meters, which is probably about 25 foot, maybe a bit more. So I'll do the exact measurements and put it up on the screen because I probably got it wrong. That's the end of the video. I think for what is effectively quite a budget machine with power tool takeoff, M-class filtration and some real power, it's also quite compact. It's a really good machine. It's made by Nilfisk, as I've said. It's the 2621. I'll put a link up to Amazon where I got it. I also bought a replacement filter at the time, which was about £25. So I've got 2 filters, so for when one runs out I've got another one. I hope you found the video useful. If you're interested in any of my other videos, including how I made my dust extraction system, I'll put some links up, and also I'll put a link up to my air filtration system video if you haven't seen that already. Hopefully see you again soon.